Hey, everybody. I was off a little bit, but hey, everybody there in the DMV Tuesday night. Exciting night. We're starting a little late here because we had some technical difficulties, but we got a lot of excitement going on in the DMV. We got cherry blossoms that are supposed to be like in peak, bloom, I think in the next few days or so. So if you haven't had a chance, you might want to get out and check that out. Also, how about those Terps? We've got men and ladies Terps basketball teams in the Sweet 16. The men are playing Thursday night. I'm not sure about the women. That might be Friday or Saturday, but support our Terps. Go Terps, go Terrapins. So anyways, appreciate you guys having some patience. Once again, we had some technical difficulties tonight. I drank my beer like super quick there because I was a little nervous. But anyways, we got everything up and going. And I'm super excited tonight because I've got a special guest who I've known for quite some time. She is home designer, home stager extraordinaire, Arlene Vlasic with Interiors by Arlene. That's right. That's the name of her business. And so Arlene has done a lot of home staging for me over the years, but she's also counseled with me and my wife, as well as some other clients that I have for home design. So we're going to introduce you to Arlene here in just a second, and we're going to talk about what's in, what's out when it comes to home design and home staging. Heck, I don't even know that I know what the difference is between the two. So we'll discuss all those things. So without anything more being said, let's bring in Arlene Vlasic with Interiors by Arlene.
Hi, Kevin.
Hey there. How you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well. I understand you've been very busy these days.
Very busy. I was wondering if I was going to have to throw in the towel after 27 years in business. In December, November and December, everything was so quiet, but January started and the market is just crazy, both with the real estate market and my renovations. So everyone is doing something. They're either moving or staying and renovating, which is great for me.
Right. And I don't know about you. I always find that if I get really slow, like the best thing to do if I get really slow and I'm like, oh my gosh, did I pay my cell phone bill? Does anybody remember who the heck I am? The thing to do is plan a vacation, because once you plan a vacation, you're never more popular than when you try to get out of town and for a weekend or a week or so, right?
I'll remember that because I was really starting to get worried. But we're back, and that's exactly what I've said to my agents. Yay, we're back.
Yeah. Well,
the last 2 weeks, everyone's on fire.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty busy now. I mean, it's a changing market right now, and I think that, and we'll discuss that in a little bit. But we're starting to see more inventory hitting the market. Homes, starting to stay on the market a little bit longer. We're starting to see some with price adjustments, some that are being taken off the market because, not everything is selling right now. The ones that, in my opinion, that are, priced well, staged well, marketed properly are selling. But the ones that are just kind of ho-hum and really didn't go through that effort are sitting and some of them being taken off the market right now.
Yep. And we're seeing more of that, I believe. And staging plays a big part in that. I think the statistics are something like 73% of staged, people are staging 73% more in the market now. And those are selling for at least 5 to 10% more.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I see it, there's actually, so I don't want to mention addresses or people's names or anything like that, but I had a buyer last week who was looking in Chevy Chase, and there was a property that had been on the market last year for 1.3 something, and apparently had been on the market for quite some time. It did not sell. They took it off of the market. during the holiday season, they actually hired another agent, invested into staging and getting some things done. And my understanding, and this was not one of my listings, but my understanding is they, invested probably about $50,000 into this property between the time, they took it off the market and went back on the market. They put it back on the market for 1.329, and that property sold. There were 6 offers, and it sold above 1.7.
Yep.
And before it, hadn't been staged, wasn't a bad property, but just, was kind of ho-hum, and, getting in there and doing a few renovations, some staging. And, I don't know very many people out there who, if they were guaranteed that they would be able to invest 50 and turn it into 400 within 3 or 4 months, like, who wouldn't do that, right?
Exactly. And, the majority of my agents, they do stage their properties for that reason. And they move quicker. They stay on the market less, for less time, and they sell for more money. It's definitely a good investment to make. Plus, when you don't stage a home, it's really difficult for the buyer to envision themselves in the home. It's hard to get them to come to the house. They're sitting in the comforts of their home, swiping on their computer, and what they see, what appeals to them is what they want to see. So when they go to the home, if it's not staged, then they're looking at items in the home that may need repair. They're, looking at the walls that are not updated, light fixture, things of that nature. But when a home is staged and ready to go, with new paint, neutral paint color, some new contemporary lighting, and some contemporary furnishings, and furnishings that will appeal to the majority of the buyers, it's a no-brainer.
Right. So a question, I actually mentioned this in the opening. You're a home designer and home stager. Now, I know you more from the home staging side and, helping my clients get the properties on the market. But I've also had you come to our house when we first bought it, for design ideas and help there. So, I actually have an article that I pulled up. I think we're going to go ahead and put it on the screen, that talks about the difference between home staging and home design. Let's see if we can get that up here quickly. Maybe not. Well, if we don't get that up here, actually, here we go. Maybe this is live streaming is always a little bit interesting here. Okay, well, if we don't get that up here, why don't you tell us a little bit of the difference between, home staging and home design? What's the difference between the two?
Sure, I'd love to. So when you're designing a space for your clients, you're designing, you're making their house a home for them. So you are putting the elements in the home that they enjoy. You're, incorporating their family photos. You're incorporating maybe their favorite colors or personal heirlooms, but in general, their style. And so you're creating a space for them. When we stage, it's at the total opposite end of the spectrum. When we stage, we are creating or trying to create a space that will appeal to the majority of the buyers. So in most cases, you want to focus on contemporary design. You want to focus on a neutral color palette. And you want to remove all the personalization out of the home. So when folks come in, they can instantly envision their furnishings in the space and their family in the space. If they come in and they see so much of the previous buyer in the house, it feels like somebody else's home. So they don't instantly gravitate to the home because it still feels like someone else's. So you just want to neutralize the house enough for people to envision themselves in the house and obviously appeal to the majority of the buyers.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and you know, obviously when you're meeting with somebody for home design, you know, this is something that's probably, you know, it's an expression of themselves, you know, and it is going to be more personal. Obviously, I imagine you're probably looking at helping them out with, you know, things that they can do to make it personal, but yet still stay somewhat trendy and keep it to their vision. But, you know, with home staging, it's really more appealing to the masses and making people feel, you know, like, hey, you know what? This is actually a cool house. I can see myself living in here, you know, without.
Exactly. And that is probably one of the most challenging aspects of staging when you're working directly with the homeowner. Because a lot of homeowners will say, well, I love my house. I don't want to have it staged. I think it looks great. And I want to keep that paint color because my daughter loved that paint color in her room. And I want to keep this piece here because I think it looks great there. And I, have to say, well, you've already bought the house. You've already lived in the house and now you're selling the house. So you have to look at what other people are going to like. And it's like looking, for a needle in a haystack, that someone too would enjoy that chair in that position or that paint color that your daughter enjoyed for so many years. So it's really hard, but very important to get your clients to just separate themselves from the home and say, okay, let's get packing. You're going to be moving on.
Right. So let me ask you this, because, I do. So what's interesting is I always say to my clients, typically, I'm meeting with them, and then I'm kind of getting you involved after, I've had all the paperwork signed and everything. And so what I'm really good at as a guy and who has no real feel for design is I'm really good at being able to come in their house and say, look, guys, you know what? 50% of this crap needs to go. In this room, 75% of this crap needs to go. You need to take this out, take that out. But where I'm lacking is, okay, now with the 50% that's left or the 25% that's left, what the hell do we do with it? Where do we put it? Like, that is definitely not my forte. I'm good at being able to clear out the crap, but how do you put it all back and, and prepare everything? Not my forte. But let me ask you a question. Have you had any interesting experiences with people that just have gotten all upset at you and like started like screaming, or have you had anybody throw you out of their house? I'm just curious about that.
Absolutely not.
No.
No. I've been really, really fortunate over the years to work with really good people, particularly my agents, who are all personal friends now. The majority of my agents have started with me and they've never left me. So and they're all really cool people. So all of their clients and homeowners are generally really cool people. So, some are resistant in the beginning, but I love meeting people and being with people and, helping them to understand that we all are sharing in the same goal. And I share with them, I've been doing this for almost 27 years. I know what I'm doing. Just trust me. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, getting thrown out of a house is a little extreme, but I mean, I'm sure you've come into resistance because, I know that I do.
Oh,
A lot is how you kind of say it and everything. But obviously, especially I found it to be true with older people, who've been there for maybe 40 or 50 years and are really attached to the heirlooms and things like that. Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure you've come up against resistance over the years.
oh, most definitely. And like I was mentioning before, the clients want to keep their items the way they had it and the way they enjoy it. And that's probably my biggest challenge. And I have to say, you may love these things, but people coming in may not. And the dated furniture that you have in the house, if people see dated furniture in the pictures, because we all know that the photographs are the most important thing. That's what brings the buyer. And if in the photographs we see old, dated furnishings, then folks are going to think that the house is dated. And who wants a dated house?
Right.
Unless it's a period house or a historical home, and that's exactly what they're looking for. But just everyone wants a very clean, which is a very, very important component of selling your house. When those buyers come, they don't want to see the dirt on the door knobs. They don't want to see all the dirt on the garage door, the inside and the outside. They want to see pristine baseboards. Everyone wants to move into a home that is clean. At a bare minimum, it has to be spick and span.
Right, right. No, very, very true. So we have a question here. So Eric Shirer asks, I let's see, right question. Let's see. Would I have to move out while the reno/staging is underway? Good question, Eric. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a good question. I have 3 warehouses full of furniture. So I really try not to put furnishings in homes that people are living in, because sometimes they get damaged or soiled. And, I just take them from one staging to the next. And so preferably, if you're having your entire home staged, then it would be advantageous for you to move out. However, in a lot of cases, we can do a hybrid staging. And so I can come over prior to putting your house on the market, letting you know what we need to get out of the house, what can stay in the house. And then I can bring items over that coordinate with your existing furnishings. In terms of the repairs, no. To have your house painted, no. Painters are really good. They can move everything in the center of the room, cover it really well. We do bathroom and all types of renovations with the client there prior to putting homes on the market.
Yeah, and my answer to that question, Eric, would be, I mean, to me, it really is case by case. It depends how much work needs to be done and really who's living in there. If I've got, grandma who's 82 years old, and it's just packed with stuff. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I'm probably going to want to work with the family and the kids to help grandma find a temporary place and, empty it out, do whatever type of work that we're going to do there, whether it be, painting, whether that be, refinishing wood floors, things like that. And then, bring in Arlene after the fact to go ahead and start setting up the staging. So, it definitely can be done, when with the homeowners there. But I think it really determines, who the person is, what their level or bandwidth is for disruption and everything, and really how much work needs to be done. Also, if it's like a family with 4 kids and 3 dogs, I mean, we may need to find another option there for
Right.
temporary place, right? So we got a few more questions, Arlene. Aaron asks, can you just stage a room or two, or do you need to stage the whole house? I think that's a good question.
Yep, great question. No, you do not need to stage the whole house. I would suggest staging the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, and the family room, and all the bathrooms. The bedrooms, as long as they have fresh coat of paint, those baseboards are nice and crisp with white trim. And the flooring is nice, whether it be carpet or hardwood, as long as they look great. We can leave those empty and just stage the first floor.
Yeah, yeah. And what's interesting is too that I think when most people hear staging, they think, okay, an empty house where you're going to go ahead and start moving in all the furniture and everything. And of course, that is one of the services that you do and that you offer there. But then, to your point, there's the hybrid there as well, where like many of the homes that I've had over the years, it's like we're working with some of the things that the people have. You might be giving them some suggestions on things that they can actually purchase on their own, like new linens and like comforters and pillows and things like that. And then you may actually, I know you don't like bringing necessarily your furniture in, but you can also help with like artwork and things like that as well, right? And give them some ideas of spatially what to do.
Exactly. Generally, my clients will have me come in for a 2-hour consultation, which I meet with the client. We go room to room, and I give them a basically homework. Sometimes they're working consulting meetings where we say, oh, we're here in this room. Let's get busy. Let's move the furniture in the space that it should be. And then these are the things that you need to pack up. But generally, it takes about 2 hours for me to go through the home, focusing on each individual room and writing down what can stay, what can go, how much to declutter the bookshelves, which is usually 75%. Yeah, so then they have a roadmap, and then generally, and I'll take pictures at that time, and then generally the agent will have me come back just prior to the pictures to bring any necessary things. A lot of times I'll bring linens for the table, like the placemats, white plates, cloth napkins, wine glasses, some accessories for the kitchen, accessories for the bathrooms, maybe a chair here, there, and artwork.
Right.
So
there's a lot of labor that takes place there.
Like
honestly, I'm getting tired just hearing all this.
A lot. I've been doing it for a long time, and I'm an awesome 26-foot U-Haul driver. Like my claim to fame. Like I'm a proud U-Haul driver. Like I don't let anyone drive my U-Haul.
There you go. There you go. So Aaron asks a follow-up question, and this is a good one. This was one of the I was going to ask tonight anyway. Is staging expensive? And she asks, how much should you buy? But let's break that in two, okay? Because let's talk about the vacant house, and I'm just going to kind of throw it out there. Let's talk about a 3,500 square foot single family home. It's a colonial. It's got 4 bedrooms, maybe 2 or 3 baths upstairs. You've got your typical living room, dining room, kitchen. Maybe there's a first floor office, and then a great room or family room, and then you have a finished basement there. Let's say, and we're talking Montgomery County pricing right now, so depending upon where people are watching from, this could differ. but Montgomery County pricing, you know, of course, depending on where you are, let's just talk this as a property that's in the $1 million price range. Okay.
Yep.
What is the investment that a homeowner would be looking at and what would you suggest to stage and not stage in this empty house? It's a you know, a blank slate there. What are we looking at cost wise, and what would you suggest there?
So I would say a minimum staging anytime you're utilizing movers, furniture movers, truck rental, and you know, you have a labor time, and you're utilizing interiors by Arlene's furnishings, obviously. I would say the minimum staging is $2,100, and with a pickup fee, because we also have to come back, pick it up, put it back into inventory. So we're looking at, you know, the removal fee is $500. So we're looking at a minimum of $2,600. And then I would say the majority of my stagings, they don't go beyond 4,000. But, you know, I just staged last week. This house was 8,000 square feet.
Woo.
But the thing is, the rooms were so large. And so the furniture, the magnitude of furniture that it would have taken to stage it would, you know, we would have been looking at a $10,000 staging. So we ended up just staging the kitchen, staging all the bookshelves, hanging pictures, creating a home theater, bringing in some like equipment to create a workout room, which is, you know, just like a step, some barbells, some yoga mats. You know, all you need to do is create the area. You don't have to have all of the equipment in there. You just have to give folks an idea of what their rooms could be utilized as. But yeah, I would say an investment of, you know, anywhere between $2,600 and $4,000. Now, most staging companies, they charge a rental fee. I do not do that. I give 30 days. I've extended that to 60 days. I've extended that to 90 days. If, you know, I have 3 warehouses of furniture, and to be perfectly honest, if I don't need it, if my company is not in detriment of not being able to, you know, do another staging, then we can leave the furnishings there until the home sells within reason.
So let's just say it's safe to say that, you know, you're talking $2,100 to $4,000. That would be for 30 to, you could probably extend it 60 days. You said that you've done it more, you know, longer, but fair to say like a 30 to 60 day period. That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
And most other companies, they do charge a rental fee, and there are big contracts and all of that. But I've been doing this for a long time. I've been successful with folks, and they've all been fair.
So I'm going to ask you, I think what is probably maybe for you might be a controversial question, but I'm just going to go there because I have my thoughts about this, but I want to hear yours first. What are your thoughts on virtual staging?
All right. You know, my thoughts are that the photos are the most important thing. And I work so hard just to get from my agents, just for everything to be perfect. I actually take pictures of every single room because it's very different looking visually through your own camera lens in just snapping a picture. I think that I'm more keen into looking through the camera to make sure that everything is in place. And I think that folks who fall in love with a picture and the virtual staging, when they get to the home and there's nothing there, I think they feel a sense of being duped. And I think that it's very confusing to them too, because then they're kind of upset that it's not what they thought it was. And then they notice what is still existing in the house. And what's existing in the house a lot of times are scuffed walls, bleached floors, just cracks in the drywall and or moldings. And, what's left there to see is what you're going to see. So,
yep.
So I'm not a big fan of it.
So I'm going to tell you my thoughts. I 100% agree. I've had people ask me about it, and okay, I mean, I don't, some people give me a hard time about this analogy, but it's a little bit like online dating. You're going to this, the Starbucks to meet this date thinking one thing, and then you go there and you find something else. And it's kind of like, wait a second, this is false advertising. This isn't what I signed up for. And you know what? I'm out of here. So that's kind of, and to your point as well, exactly, when people move out of the house, I mean, you're even the people that take care of their homes the best, unless you paint and you start, and you really start, touching up those nail pops and the scuffs and things like that. It's just, and the carpet, the impressions where furniture used to be, and there's carpet there. I mean, I think people really feel duped, and so I agree. I'm not a big believer at all, and I think that it's all about expectations. You want to be able to give people a good online experience. But to get them to the point, where they come to your property, see your property, but that in-person experience has to match the online experience. You can't be up here with the online and down here there. And what's interesting, being an agent, and maybe you've seen this, but I show houses also. I've actually seen some where the online experience is horrible, and actually you go to the house and it's like, daggone, this place is pretty good. Because you have some cheap, probably part-time agent who took photos with their iPhone, and the photos look terrible. And then you get to the house, it's actually, daggone, this is actually much better than I was expecting. How many buyers did they potentially lose who didn't even want to see it based on the online experience? So as an agent, I would just say it's important that your online experience and your in-person experience, they have to match and be right there,
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So we've got a few more questions here. So we've got John, and John says, I'm looking forward to Arlene's consultation with us tomorrow. I live in a townhouse. After living in single-story homes in Texas, Colorado has definitely required us to adapt. Her expertise will be fantastic. So you're going to be going by John and Chris's house tomorrow. This is a house that's coming on the market, right outside of Kentlands. Townhouse, really nice. So John's watching tonight, so he's got high expectations of your visit tomorrow.
Well, I won't disappoint, John.
Bring it. So anyways, thanks for that, John. Got another question. What is the ROI, return on investment, you generally see from staging? You answer that, and then I'm going to kind of chime in on that. What type of return on investment, are you shooting for when you're staging a home?
Well, I mean, statistics show that it's a minimum of 5%, but in this market,
5% or 5 times?
What's that?
you say 5%, or are you looking at 5 times your investment? So if you were to invest $4,000, you'd get like a $20,000 return.
Exactly.
Okay, like so 5x basically.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It can be higher.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen these homes, like you said earlier, the home was on the market. They took it off the market. They brought it back on the market, staged, and freshly painted. I mean, the majority of my agents go in and they freshly paint everything. I mean, we just really make it look like a brand new home.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got another question here from Richard Saunders. I know him as Rick. Hey, Rick, thank you for watching. Rick is asking, what is, and this was a question I was going to get to, so thanks for beating me to it, Rick. That's fine. What is the recommended wall color in 2025? Wow.
Well, it depends if you're staging your property or for design, if you are designing your home. But neutral. There's a new thing, sort of new out there. It's called color drenching. So a lot of folks now want to color drench a room, and what that means is you paint the ceiling, the walls, the trim, everything in that room with the same color. That's, it's a trend. To be perfectly honest, a lot of my clients are not really into trends. The younger clients are more into trends, but my older clients are into a very classic look. So in trend is always neutral color palette, and classic furnishings, white, textures, like your woven textures. But in terms of the trendy color, brown is in for 2025. Like an ochre color is in for 2025. Warm greens are in, but
now,
also,
when you say these are in, are you speaking more of home design or more of home staging, or are you talking both?
design.
Okay.
So but also what is in for home design are your neutral, and are always in a classic home, your neutral colors, which are like sandstone, accessible beige. Accessible beige is a great staging color, and it is a great color for design as well. Another great color for staging and design, and is on trend too, is a color called City Loft. And it looks really, really great with a white trim. Grays are out, and grays, beiges are in.
Yeah. What's interesting is, so, for years and years, I've had my clients using accessible beige. We kind of moved it. Now it's kind of in between. In many houses, accessible beige or agreeable gray. And when people hear gray, they're like, "Oh no, gray's out." But I mean, what are your thoughts on agreeable gray? Because it still falls in that grayish family, which is, it's not the cool gray, that was so popular for what seemed like, 10 years or so. It's not the cool gray. What are your thoughts on those? And by the way, we're talking Sherwin-Williams products right now. So
right. I love agreeable gray because it does have a brown a component to it. So it's it has some depth to it. So it is a grayish. It's a gray beige.
Right.
So most definitely. I don't think you can go wrong with the agreeable gray, the accessible beige, the city loft. I was wondering if you were going to ask me some questions about color, and I thought I brought my color wheel in here so I could share some colors
Oh,
with
look
you.
at that. Look at that. We threw up a city loft there.
All right. It's a beautiful color. Yeah.
Wow. I wasn't even familiar with that one. Let me, actually, we got another question here from Eric. And Eric says, I like wallpaper, but does it complicate staging? Wallpaper is kind of making a comeback, right?
Yes. Wallpaper is making a comeback. A great wallpaper that is both classic and works great when selling your home is the woven texture. It's not called bamboo. What's it called? It's left my brain.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Grass cloth.
Oh, right.
The grass cloths come in so many different colors. Excuse me. And they're really making a comeback, most definitely.
But that is definitely a design, not a staging thing.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes, you're not going to put wallpaper in your house to sell it. Most definitely not.
But I think to Eric's question here, he likes wallpaper. My opinion is, does it complicate it? Well, once again, wallpaper is making a comeback, but I think it's a lot about what you have there, and does it fight, and does it, is it extreme? Does it fight with other things in the property or within the house? What's the condition of it? Because gosh knows, I've come into homes and I've seen it kind of peeling and everything. That's no bueno. We got to get rid of that. Yeah, I would say it probably could complicate it some, but it really depends on what you have. And oftentimes, I don't know if in my opinion, if you have wallpaper in one area of the house, especially if it's not like the main area of the house, we can, even if it may not be exactly what I would suggest or what you would suggest, we could probably work around it somewhat, but if it's all over the place, that kind of helter skelter, I think that's a little bit different story.
I agree. Powder room is a great room to put wallpaper in.
Yep. So this is a good question. Chris Balto asks, what's one design trend you're secretly tired of, but clients keep asking for?
Accent walls.
Really? I was going to ask you about accent walls.
Yes. So
you're over it? You're over it?
Colored accent walls are really out. The trim walls are still in.
What do you mean trim walls? What does that mean?
Like if you put moldings on the walls and different patterns, those are fun. So if you're adding an architectural kind of detail and you want to highlight that by painting a different color, just like your trims and moldings, your shadow boxes, you can paint those different colors. But yeah, a lot of, the dark accent wall, like one wall in the house, or one wall in the room, it being a different color. There you go. Those are accent walls. And that's kind of the trend now, is the color drenching. Instead of having the one accent wall, you paint the entire room that accent color.
Right.
So
right.
That's on trend.
Right. But you're finding that to be more the TikTok crowd, the Gen Zers, the younger ones that are
exactly
into that. Okay.
Exactly. Now that picture there, the color of it, it's classic, and it's not too dark. It's not cave-like. That's I would choose that color.
So Kristen asks a question that's really right along with what you just were asking, or what you were just talking about. She says, "What about shiplap or a textured wall, in or out?"
I still think those are in, and it really depends on the house style. So a lot of people are decorating in the farmhouse style still, and so yeah, the shiplap, that's a classic. Um, trim. It's just like the OG trim and the shadow boxes. Those are classic elements that have been around in traditional homes forever. So you just don't want to overuse it.
Right, right. And have it every other room, and
Right.
This is on more of a personal note. Do you have anybody that you can recommend that does shiplap? Because I have a contractor and a painter that I've been using forever. I love him to death, but he is not. I'm sure he could do my shiplap, but he has no interest in doing it. We were discussing doing it like 3 years ago. We never did it. So what you're saying is that ship on shiplap hasn't sailed just yet. So if we got somebody who is interested in doing it and who could do it, you would still suggest, if it's what we like, it's not something that's going to be necessarily out of style,
Exactly.
by Memorial Day.
Yes. And it's interesting. I just read an article that the barn doors, the hardware is out, not the barn door itself, like the natural wood barn door, light, and or a barn style door that would, could be moved back on a track. The barn door itself and the functionality of it is still in, but for a cleaner, more contemporary look, the slider or the hardware is out. So you want that to be the hardware actually to be hidden. And pocket doors. Pocket doors have always been in. They've been classic. You just slide it open. It goes slides right back into your wall. So those are still trending and classic, and will be elements around forever. But I thought it was interesting that the barn door hardware is out.
Interesting. Yeah, I've just heard barn doors were out, but I didn't, I wouldn't have thought about just the hardware side of it. But interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Contractor. I do all facets of design and build. So I have a group of 3 full service contractors that I do bathroom renovation, kitchen renovations, full home renovations. So I definitely can refer you to one of my guys who can take care of your shiplap for you.
Well, I just received a text from my other half saying no shiplap. So it looks like no shiplap. Whatever. That ship has sailed. Or at least for me. So got another question here. I think this is a good one. What's a luxury look on a non-luxury budget for staging? We're talking staging, not design.
A luxury look on a budget. Well, what room are we talking? I mean, a white sofa is always a good luxury look. The gold, the brushed gold is in.
Are you talking about hardware now?
For a classic, like a coffee table or end tables, glass and the brushed gold is still in. You know, that's a tough question to answer, not knowing what room. But
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
staging, we in the living room, we generally put in 2 end tables. It's, you know, we try to we want it to be symmetrical. So the sofa, 2 end tables, 2 matching lamps, 2 chairs, and coffee table, and maybe like a console table. That's typically what makes up a staged living room.
Right, right, right. So let's talk. I'm looking at some of my notes here. So um, how would you say staging differs between, you know, different types of properties like condos or townhouses, single family homes, or, you know, let's just say more of a modern home versus a traditional home?
Well, like I said, it's kind of tricky. Staging can be tricky based on the style of the home and if the client is leaving some of the furnishings in the home as opposed to taking everything out. So, you know, if you are staging at the beach, you're going to have one type of furniture. All the homes at the beach are going to be staged with a beach theme or beach colors. Um, for me, and staging homes from Potomac all the way up to Adamstown now, and staging properties that are, you know, 1.5 to 2 million down to, you know, a condo. I have to keep an inventory of very large furniture, small furniture. I can't really put in a, you know, I can't really put in a dinky staging couch and a, you know, Target table and or you know, really small scale furnishings into a big 4 or 5 or 6,000 square foot home.
Right.
So it really just depends on. That's why I come and look at it. And to be perfectly honest, I try to I try to work with the client's furniture, take out what doesn't work, and incorporate some of my fill in with my furniture, because when you start mixing and matching furniture, then it gets very it just muddies the water. Like if you have a client that has a you know, pretty put together home, but then maybe their family room furniture and living room furniture, they don't have enough pieces. If you come and bring something in that is small scale, very contemporary, when they have a very traditional home, then the home just doesn't flow.
Right.
So it's very important to make sure the furnishings match throughout the property for a more cohesive look.
Right, right. And I mean, would you say that there's any price point? Let's talk about an empty property. Okay. It doesn't matter, you know, but would you say that there's any price point where staging does not make sense doing? I mean, you know, obviously we all know that the larger, more luxury homes, it can make a huge difference on, and, you know, it can also springboard that value, you know, immensely sometimes. But is there any price point or any type of property where you're like, yeah, you know, this probably isn't worth doing?
Absolutely not. I think staging is the way to go. Even if it's just a consultation, not that I have to bring furniture in. I think that, you know, a 2-hour consultation, um, everyone should do that, because you have a new set of eyes, and it's you know, decluttering is very, very important. And sorry, there we go. Yeah, I think a consultation is, you need it.
Right.
Whether you're selling a condo or whether you're selling a larger single family home.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, no, like I say, for what I seem to think of it more on the higher end, but I agree with you, especially with the type of cost that you're talking about. A $2,000 investment possibly in a townhouse or a single or a condo or something like that. Once again, if you can turn that into $15,000 or $20,000 because you create more demand, more interest, and more offers, then obviously it's paid for itself, 5 or 10 times over.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me kind of, I want to get some more questions in here. Let's see. We've got any other ones? No other questions. Hey, everybody out there, go ahead and throw in some questions. But we've talked about the popular paint color palettes for 2025. And you said that things are moving. I've kind of noticed this kind of more earth tones, like your browns and like camel colors and things like that. Do you expect that to continue, and where do you see things going?
I do. I think that, since the pandemic, people are not only decorating their home, but yeah, let me go back. They're decorating their home with more sustainable and items that they feel comfortable with. They want to feel comfortable in their home, and they want those warm colors, but also neutral colors. And I think that the phase of, let me see, I had a note here a point that I wanted to make because I thought this was interesting. I can't find it. But yeah, the warm color tones and a lot of natural elements. Wicker is, very good in a home to make it fresh, and even plants. No more of the big frond, the big plants. Those are out. I actually wrote a few things down. The big fig trees. Everyone, back in the day, I would say 10 years ago, everyone wanted to bring foliage in staged homes. They either had a fig tree in the corner, or a little tiny faux plant goes a long way in a staged home, but no more of the big fig trees.
I can't even think what a fig tree looks like. I mean, I used to see all the ficus trees and stuff like that,
Yeah,
back in the day, but I'm trying to think of even what a fig tree looks like. I mean, but
they're big.
I don't like the big ones that like kind of hang out all over the place. They're kind of out of control or whatever. I mean, it tends to take over a room too often and looks a little bit unkept.
Yes.
Sleep.
Yeah, I agree.
So it looks like my producer here, he said that he's got a TikTok video he wants us to react to. He says it's going to be a good one. So you want to throw that up there?
People are craving traditional design right now. Oil paintings, stripes, ships, lace. Gallery walls with an assortment of art, maps, photos, and nostalgia. This harkens to an era before the advent of modern minimalism and the takeover by big storage. Things here are out to display. Stacks of books and bookshelves, themselves a marker of the analog age. Dark wood floors and carved furniture. Plates on the wall. Buttery creams, blues, greens, and reds. A little skirting on the upholstered pieces. Chinoiserie and subtle florals. The popularity of Delft tile, and maybe even some fly fishing accessories.
Yep, so true. And that was the word I was looking for, minimalistic. That is no longer. People do not want that look. They want a cozy, comfortable. They want to introduce their books. They want to be surrounded by the things that make them happy and warm colors. And they want to stay at home.
Wait. So I can't tell people to get rid of their crap anymore? Is that what you're saying? I mean, we got to leave all this stuff up on the wall. I mean, I'm getting complete mixed messages here.
Not staging. Not staging. Staging, we still have to move all of that out.
Oh, thank God. Thank God.
Yeah. But for those folks that are designing their homes, they really want the warm, earthy tones, and the muted beiges and taupes and browns and the sandstones. I have down here accessible beige, desert ochre, the sage greens. Yeah.
So when I was actually doing a little bit of research for our live stream tonight, I was looking up some things on trends in like home design, and one of the things it talked about it, and I looked up a few different articles, talked about people are really into the whole health and wellness, and creating areas of, I guess, kind of like what you're saying, comfort and just wellness in like bathrooms and other parts of the house as well. I mean, are you kind of seeing that too?
Oh, most definitely. A lot of the natural wood has come back, and wood, just a light wood wall, the sage greens, the natural elements, like the woven baskets, wicker furniture with, like a very sleek coffee table made out of wood. So a lot of the wood is coming back.
Right. But not accent walls.
Well,
could you do a wood accent wall?
Yes.
You were just talking. You didn't really the painted accent walls are kind of
just one dark wall in a room is what I was talking about.
Right.
Right. But yeah, I mean, you can do, like, a lot of folks will do just a panel. It's like a board on board, a strip, a panel strip coming down one side of the bed and the other coming down the other. And the pendant lights now are really cool when they're hung in bedrooms, and when they're that backdrop of the wood, that's a beautiful look too. So there's so much you can do with the wood. I'm a big fan of moldings. I always have been, and there's just so many different things you can do now.
Right. And you know what? You may have answered Chris's question that he just asked. He said, what trend do you love that the market doesn't appreciate yet?
Well, I mean, I love a classic look. I like a look that never goes out of style, a look that you kind of get bored with before, it goes out. But let me think. Yeah, I really don't have one.
So I have a question for you. What's the color on your wall behind you there?
Oh, the color is about probably 12 to 15 years old. And it is called Annapolis beige, I believe. And I believe it's a Benjamin Moore color.
Right. Okay.
But
I had, I mean, it's a little late and, it's, but I had it as accessible beige, but no.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah.
Close. I mean, accessible beige is a classic color. It's wonderful. They say that in all the rooms, if you can see, and if you have an open floor plan, then your colors should not, you should have no more than 3 colors, and they should all blend for a more cohesive feel throughout as you transition throughout the different rooms. So I am a big fan of painting all the first floor and the foyer the same color, and really accenting your spaces with artwork, throws, pillows. You can always change your pillows to get a different look. You can always change your artwork or put your artwork, move your artwork from one room to a different room. And then for sofas, just pick a nice neutral color. Yeah, you can keep those big pieces intact and just constantly change your look by changing out pillows and rugs and throws and things of that nature.
So we're starting to kind of wind down on time, but I have one question. What would you say, to those people out there watching today, and we're talking about home staging right now and preparing their home for sale. What are the top 3 things that, someone should be looking at first when they're thinking about putting their home on the market when it comes to home staging? What are the top 3 things that you would suggest first?
Okay, top 3 things. Number 1 is decluttering. Really, we all do it. We all live in our homes. We all just clutter our homes. But you really have to separate yourself from your items. Get 3 boxes, and one box is keep and pack up. The next box is donate. And then the next box is, maybe have the kids look at or something. But it has to go someplace. If you pick it up, it has to. And if you put it in the keep box, you have to make sure that you can envision a space where that's going to go in the next house. If you don't have a space for it, then it goes in the donation box.
Right.
So number 1 is declutter. Number 2 is painting your house a neutral color, a nice neutral color. Get all that trim nice and white and bright. Paint the doors. And number 3 is make sure that it is clean. It needs to be professionally cleaned. All the baseboards need to be very crisp. All of your vents, your ceiling vents, need to be free from, all the dust and grime. Your garage doors, inside and out, all of your interior doors need to be nice and neat. And then I want to go for a 4th one and say you need to update your lighting. It's very inexpensive, but it is so, so important to put contemporary lighting. Again, not expensive. You can walk into any Home Depot or Lowe's. They have a section of lighting that all coordinate. It's current. You can pick anything out of that grouping and put it in your home. They change those groupings out probably once a year, once every 2 years. So you're going to get something current. Those are my top 4.
Yeah. Yeah. I would always say, yes, it starts with decluttering. You got to get the stuff out of there first. And I've always said that clutter eats up equity. So, obviously it's your equity in your house and you want as much of it released to you as possible, but clutter really eats up that equity. So I definitely agree with you there. And then painting, the only thing I'm going to piggyback with you on the painting is I would say that it's got to be a professional job, because I've seen plenty of people try it and they screw it up and the lines are all, screwed up. You got smudges here, smudges there. Also, I've seen people who have used like, the eggshell or a high gloss in every room, and you got to wear sunglasses to go in there. It's like, oh my God, it's like, glare's bouncing off the freaking wall. So, it's about painting, but doing a professional job and using the right colors and the right type of paint. And a good paint job should also include, I think you're going to agree with this, hitting all those areas of caulk, you know, like you see it all the time when you go up the steps, you know, where the molding meets the wall. Like in our house, like we're pretty good about that stuff, but you know, it was a dry, damn winter, and like every bit of caulk right now on our steps going upstairs, it's all cracked and brittle, and you know, your eyes go right to those things. You know, same thing with the, you know, crown moldings and everything. So like a good paint job should not just be painting the walls, it should also be nail pops, it should be drywall taping, you know, where drywall tapes come down, and especially coming into the spring off of a dry winter, you know, a lot of those caulking and things, you know. I mean, a good paint job should include those things. You know, it's not just painting the walls. Third thing, what did you say about the third thing? What was the third thing?
Yeah, but I wanted to piggyback off that.
Okay.
I know that on my moldings also just today, it must have been so dry, but I also wanted to mention your house has to be in good repair. You know, number one, like around the tub, around the toilet, around the vanities, all the caulk has to be fresh. So the grout has to be really fresh, and then the caulking around there.
Yeah.
But the house in general needs to be in good repair.
Yeah.
People can tell when they're walking into a home that has been well cared for, and they're walking into a home that has not been well cared for. And to be perfectly honest, my agents are so good. If you were to walk into any of their homes, they all look like they've been well cared for, because these contractors do such a great job at preparing for the market. And you're going to get your investment back threefold. It really has to be impressive when folks walk in.
Yeah. Well, Arlene, it's been a treat having you on this evening. We had a little bit of technical difficulties in the beginning. We started a little late, so we ran a little late here, but I really appreciate your time and everything. I did want to ask you, so if, for anybody who's either watching this right now, there's also going to be people who are going to be watching this on replay on YouTube after the fact. If somebody's interested in either home staging or home design, what's the best way to reach out to you?
You can reach out to me by phone. My number is 301-706-0951. Or you can, text me. That's probably the best way to reach me. I'm on the road all the time. And I'm not real good at checking my emails, to be perfectly honest. If you want to check out some of my designs and my interior designs, my renovations, and the homes that I'm have staged this week or in the last year, check out my Interiors by Arlene Facebook page.
Awesome. No, that's great. Well, listen, I do appreciate you joining tonight. Also, interested to hear that you're, how your appointment goes tomorrow with my client, John. He's looking forward to it. He was watching this evening. They've got a great house. This is going to be, I would think, a little bit of an easier one for you, but they're very eager to make sure that they do it right from the start, get it everything right, exactly the way it needs to be. And, so we get those great photos, great video, and, hopefully get it sold quickly, but, also at a very high price. So, so thank you very much for checking us out. And I'm just also going to tell everybody out there that thank you for watching. Thank you for all the questions. We got a lot of questions this week, which was great. For those of you who are watching this after the live has ended, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. You've got two QR codes up there. So we've got one, which is a QR code for a referral. So this is for those of you who might be outside of the area, outside of the DMV. If you're watching this and you have questions about your house, what to do, what not to do, and getting it ready for sale, maybe you're looking for a great agent in your area. I've got a network of top agents throughout the country. We'd be happy to help you find a great agent in your area. So simply scan that referral QR code, type in your name and information, and we'll have a quick chat. Don't worry, I won't stalk you, but we'll talk a little bit about what's important in finding a good agent, and we'll help you find a great agent in your area. And then lastly, if you have questions specific to your home and you want to talk to me directly, you can go ahead and scan that Calendly link. Go ahead and pick a time, and we can get on a 15 to 30 minute Google Meet where we can kind of discuss your plans more specifically. So, hey, everybody, I wanted to thank you guys for visiting and watching this evening. I really appreciate all your questions that you had tonight. And last thing I'm going to say, go Terps. We're in the Sweet 16 for both men's and women's basketball. So thanks once again, and you guys have a great evening.